Alrighty, mic check. How's everyone doing this morning? Let's see. Good morning. Patrick, Sam, Reggie, Royal, Ashcon. Hey, do you move your stop loss to break even after the first target pre-market high? So a lot of times, in majority of the times, you will move your stop to break even, depending if you take profits at high of day. A lot of times, if you move your stop to break even as soon as you take profits at high of day, a lot of times you probably will get tagged out, especially if you move your contracts to break even and you have a super the first target's pretty small. A lot of times you probably will get stopped up before the big move. But if you have an external liquidity, if you target like a 2-to-1 and you get and first profit target hits, a lot of times you will move your stop to break even. So it depends on the context and depends on how you personally trade it and how you trail your position. It just depends. Good morning. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Morning from Italy. Hit the like, folks. Alpha on the way. All right. Yeah, so today, the main thing today is that there's actually a decent amount of red folder news. The one that's really important is Jerome Powell speaking at 9:30. So that's really going to affect the market or right at market open. And of course, we have that 10 a.m. News. So it should be an interesting day because tomorrow we have a lot of red folder news, but tomorrow is that half day. So tomorrow's the half day. It's an interesting day, literally in the middle of the week as well. And then of course, Thursday we have that bank holiday, and then Friday we are back to normal. So this is the red folder news that's happening. Yeah. So today, as I mentioned, Fed Chair Powell speaking, and then of course 10 a.m. Jolts opening. Okay, where are you guys from? It's 5 p.m. here. Good morning from the villages. I think a lot of us are probably on the East Coast. Are on this side of the world. There's probably some people that are around the world, but majority of us are probably from North America, if that was my guess. I could be wrong though. All right. Yes. So this is what it looks like on the daily time frame, right? We're still holding this level coming into market open, which is kind of expected. I expected price at least the first couple of days to hold this before we have major news events coming into this week. This is their area of down close candles. As you can see right here, this is the area that we've been holding. So I mentioned that this was your order block, right? The top of your order block. This was originally what I had last week. So I had this whole down close candle marked out. So I had this whole down close candle marked out. I said this is what's called your daily order block. So I'll drag it over. I had this whole down close candle marked out. I had your top of it. You can see this is the top of your order block. You can see we're tapping it here. And then this is really your middle of the order block. And then all the way to low of the order block. Sorry, it's a little bit messy, but this is essentially the middle of the order block right here. Right here. Right, essentially in this area right here. Middle of your order block, and then you have your top of your order block, and then you have your bottom of your order block. So as you can see in this case, right, price started tapping the top of your order block, and then essentially holding it. You can see right here as support. And then yesterday, we actually dug deeper into our break and retest level right here. And you can see price really swept this area right here, but it was still holding it. So that's why I was still bullish yesterday. That's why we had that bounce. We never had a strong candle closure inside of this order block. As you can see right here, all these wicks, right? All these wicks indicates that we're still bullish, right? We're still bullish, right? We're still holding this key area, which it has to. And you can see right here as well, right? Coming to market open, right? We actually just had that 1 hour candle closure, and we're still trying to hold this area. You can see we still have not had a strong candle closure underneath this key area for ES. So that's why I'm still bullish on ES, but as you can see, I mentioned that I'm less bullish due to the fact that we are digging deeper into this down close candle, which is this order block. I personally would have liked it to hold this area right here, which is your 5519 area. You can see it held it. It was on Friday, and you can see on Monday, right, we dug deeper into this level. I personally didn't like it too much for a long position, right? We had that mini bounce, and now you can see we're kind of staying heavy so far. But obviously on the higher time frames, if you look on the daily time frame, right, we're still bullish. As long as we hold this level, we're still bullish, but I'm a lot less bullish, as I mentioned, coming into this week because of that daily top that we had, that double top that we had pretty big wicks, and now we're just coming back into key areas. So it's all about what the higher time frame wants to do. If the daily time frame ends up closing inside of this, really this is your key level, right? Your 4590 level. If you have a daily candle closure underneath this level, it's most likely going to end up pulling back to 5451 area. But so far, right, we're holding this level, so I'm still bullish, but I'm less bullish than last week. Really same thing as NQ, right? NQ is actually a little bit more bullish than the ES now. You can see, right, push towards the upside. Where we're going to be looking for bounces, right? Down closed candles, which is your 1 hour order block right here. You can see this is multiple touches right here, and then of course we're actually holding this level right now. So yesterday we marked out our down close candles, and you can see yesterday I might have shaken a lot of people up potentially towards the downside, because we had this key level, which is your 19903 level, and then we had this 1 hour order block drawn out as well. A lot of people, right, as this candle was developing right at 930, a lot of people thought it was going to gravitate lower for the day, but you can see it actually ended up holding perfectly at the low of the candle, right? Low of the order block, you can see on this wick, right? At one point, price was all the way back down here, but you can see where the candle closed. The candle closed inside this 1 hour order block. It essentially defended this level as well, which is your 19903, right? Ended up reclaiming this level, right? Key order block level as well. And that's why we had that nice bounce back towards the upside, but you can see we're selling back off. So for NQ and ES, right, as I mentioned, what was most likely going to happen this week, right? After that rejection on Friday, I mentioned that we're most likely just going to have consolidation. So if I remove this, right, after this rejection on Friday, I mentioned that we're most likely just going to come back inside of the range, because if you wanted to see price higher, right, price would have closed above here and it would have continued towards that all-time highs level. But since it rejected that all-time highs level, it's essentially just inside this, it's the range. So all in between their high and the low of this range, which is your retest level down here, and the top of the range, which is that all-time highs level, right? In between this level is basically just range. So there's no really bias towards the upside or the downside, especially intraday, right? Obviously on the higher time frames, we're still very much bullish. On the weekly time frame, on the daily time frame, right, we're still bullish. But on the lower time frames, on the 1 hour time frame, you can see we're clearly in consolidation on the 1 hour time frame, right? Basically the top of the range, right? This is completely consolidation on the 1 hour time frame, right? It's been consolidating since the 20th now. So basically for 1 to 2 weeks, right, we're just consolidating. And that's what happens. So that's why a lot of the tickers, that's why you have to look at tech names, a lot of tech names that have those move towards all-time highs, because when the market's consolidating, a lot of the times it'll allow other tech names to like catch up and have those moves towards all-time highs. So ES been consolidating for the past 2 weeks, and then NQ kind of similar. A little bit less of consolidation, but a very similar chart as well, right? It just has a little bit of a bigger range. This is really the bottom right here. In your top, so has a bigger range than the ES, so it's a lot more volatile. That's why you can trade it better intraday. But both these tickers are just consolidating. Personally, as I mentioned, it's most likely gonna break outside of this range once news happens, which is a lot of red folder today, and then there's a lot of red folder tomorrow as well, and then of course we have that bank holiday. So if it does want to break it, we'll see what happens today. There's a lot of red folder. Of course, tomorrow's a half day, so we'll see what happens with the market, right? We have been holding this area, so as long as we hold this area, I expect it to gravitate towards the upside. Okay, the information you were just reading from Where Can I Find That News, that's called Forex Factory. Forex Factory, very popular. It's for indices. General news is Forex Factory. How do you manage to trade with red folder news coming in at 10 a.m.? A lot of times, right, if it's 10 a.m. news, you won't trade the indices or SPY unless you get a good entry right off the gates, right? You usually won't trade the indices like SPY and QQQ, but you can trade the tech names if there's extreme relative strength or weakness, and if there's a higher time frame setup, then you can trade before 10 a.m. But if you're trading just general SPY and Qs, you always really want to wait. But sometimes there's a higher time frame setup. Currently, I think there's only one higher time frame setup, so majority of the times you will want to wait for that 10 a.m. red folder news, especially today, right? It's a little bit more interesting because a lot of times, right, you have red folder at 10 a.m., but today we have red folder at 9:30 a.m., which Jerome Powell speaking. So it's one of those days where most likely you want to wait. Are you always waiting for the retest? Yeah, always waiting for the retest. That's my strategy. I mean, there's certain scenarios where you potentially look for like a dip and rip or opening drive play. Sometimes they're technically, it's usually retesting some sort of level, right? Either intraday level or external level. South American supporting learning. Nice. South America. How many contracts do you trade with your A, B, C setups? Do you have a rule or just trying to understand risk? So, yeah, if I have like a majority of the times if I'm scalping, right? If I'm scalping, there's not really a set contract amount just due to the fact that if you're trading different names, they're different contract prices, but I usually have around a $10,000 position size, right? If I'm scalping around a $10,000 position size, risking around $1,000 per trade. And then if I have an A plus setup, a lot of times it'll be double the risk. So double the risk on those A plus setups. But majority of the times when I'm scalping, I only risk around $1,000 per trade. Yeah, it's all dependent on the actual ticker, the contract size. All right, where was I? Okay, Meta. So Meta, this is my, let's go over Meta. As I mentioned, it was most likely going to gravitate back towards this down close candle, which is your order block, right? Once we had this big down close candle on Friday, I mentioned we're most likely just going to gravitate back into that 500 level because of that big push towards the downside. Really, this was your retest level, right? We're underneath this level. We're underneath this level as well. So I mentioned that we're most likely just going to pop, kind of drop back into your 500 level. You can see yesterday, really what happened was there wasn't really too much of a pop. We ended up just getting underneath their previous day low and using this as a retest, basically straight down towards your 500, which is your 498.50. Now you can see really bounced in this daily order block and then just kind of right back up into your key area, which is your 504. I mentioned that really it's going to kind of be like trading Meta towards the downside. There's not that much volume. So this is one of the tickers that you kind of just want to see it consolidate now. You kind of want to see it consolidate. You can see we're still very much bullish on Meta, right? It's coming back into this daily chart. As long as it holds this level, I'm expecting a pushback towards that all-time highs level on Meta. So I'm still very bullish on this name. It's just one of those where it's a little bit more difficult to trade intraday-wise with the price action and the amount of volume it has. AMD. So AMD, I mentioned this wedge that we have forming on the daily time frame. Where's all my... So yeah, I mentioned that we're forming this daily wedge pattern on the higher time frames. You can see top of the wedge right here and bottom of the wedge. So we're tapping it multiple times. You can see yesterday, I really talked about it wanting to hold this 161.8 level if you want to see a push towards the upside. Let me actually bring this. So this is the key level we have on on AMD, right? This was your key level. This was also your key level, which is your 161.8 level. And you can see I want to price to hold this level. If it wants to gravitate higher, you can see it kind of rejected the top of this trend line. And that's why we had that pushback towards the downside. So for AMD coming into today, you can see that yesterday we're trying to hold the top of the trend line and we're still holding it, right? I mentioned this 161.8 level is key. You can see we still haven't had a strong candle closure above this level. You can see every single time it tries closing above this level, right, it just wicks, right? You can see the wicks right here. And that's why we're kind of getting stuffed on AMD is because we haven't had a strong candle closure above 161.8. And if you look in the 1 hour time frame now, yesterday, pretty big. We actually ended up breaking outside of this range. But yesterday, pretty big down close candle. Today, we're staying heavier in the pre-market. As I mentioned, we're really kind of back inside of a key level on AMD. I personally don't really like it for a short unless it's like extreme relative weakness on AMD. What I'd like to see, if you do want to see a potential short side position, I personally don't like it for a short side, but if you were looking for a short, you kind of want to see this key level break below. So this is your key level, right? Multiple touches here, right? Yesterday you can see it tried getting above it, tried getting below it, right? Using it as a retest towards the downside, end up getting back above, retesting back towards the upside. So this is your key level. If price wants to gravitate back towards the upside, right, it's going to hold this level. If price gets below, it's going to do something like this, right? Retesting towards the downside. Either way, I personally don't like AMD too much for a move towards the downside. It's one of those where I'd rather just be patient, especially with the news today, right? It's going to be very key. And then of course we have a half day tomorrow and a bunch of other tickers, right? If AMD wants to head lower, right, NVDA has to head lower and a bunch of other tickers have to head lower as well. Thanks. How do you trade during these red folder news like today? Right. The main thing is about understanding those higher time frames. A lot of the red folder news at 10 a.m. and then of course you have that Jerome Powell speaking at 9:30. It's one of those where you just kind of want to be patient, right? This is a week where you don't really want to put on too much size, or you just kind of want to stay back this week, right? Because it's a trickier week because we have that bank holiday, right? We have a day off, right? Half day Wednesday, a lot of red folder news. We have Jerome Powell speaking tomorrow and today. So this is one of those weeks that you just want to be patient and you don't really want to put on too much size. This is if you do want to take any couple days off, right? This is the week you want to do so. Like you don't want to be trading. You want to try and not trade this week. That's at least you want to trade. You want to trade quality setups, which I'm looking at the higher time frames. There was a couple high quality setups, but in the pre-market they're actually pulling back. Good morning. Is Amazon hitting 200 or will it go back to 193? I'll take a look at that. How does Intel look? I'll take a look at that later as well. So NVDA, this is really what it looks like on the daily time frame. As I mentioned, after this big down days, I expected consolidation, right? Very similar back to March, big down day, just consolidation. That's exactly what it's doing. You can see yesterday, I really kind of talked about this key level being your 122. I wanted to see it in the market open, really use this level as a potential move back towards the upside. You can see yesterday we actually ended up in the pre-market we were using it, then of course the market dropped and then you end up coming all the way back down towards a pre-market low and then coming back and using this level. So this level is still very much valid. You can see right here, right, support basically broke underneath it and then it ended up reclaiming this level, right? If I zoom in a little bit, right, tried using it as a retest towards the downside, end up reclaiming this level. Now, right, you kind of want to use this level of support, right? This 122 level. So you drag this level over, right? Price, this is a very key level for NVIDIA. If price wants to gravitate higher, right, it needs to hold this level. If it breaks underneath this, it's going to gravitate back towards the downside. So this is why this level is very key, especially on the higher time frames. What we also do have on NVIDIA is this mini downtrend break as well. So me personally, I like NVIDIA. If it can hold this 122 level, I'll be interested in potential downtrend break and a move back towards the upside. Right? I'm a little bit more biased bullish. I'm a little bit more bullish on NVIDIA towards the upside than towards the downside. I'd rather trade it towards the upside anyways, just do the higher time frames. So this is what's kind of forming, right? We have this like mini wedge pattern that's kind of forming. And we also are reclaiming this key level, which is your 122. So as long as we hold this level, I expect NVIDIA to gravitate back towards the upside to, of course, previous day high. And then, of course, these highs back here. So for NVIDIA today, the levels you want to have marked out, right? Your 122 level, right? You can mark out your gap fill if you want, and then previous day high, and then you can just keep marking out old highs and lows. So old highs and lows, you can mark out this one as well. Can you give your thoughts on NQ for today? Yeah, I just kind of talked about it. There's not really too much happening on the NQ. There's a lot of news, right? It's just back inside really this 1 hour order block. Same as ES, right? We're just kind of chilling. So we'll see what happens with the news factor. They're both in key areas. So yeah, it's just kind of consolidating. So it's consolidating. It's gonna, we'll just wait for what happens with the news on a lot of these tickers. So the next ticker I have is Microsoft. So Microsoft, I had these key levels drawn out on Microsoft. I mentioned that I kind of wanted to see either hold this level as a push back towards the downside, towards 443, or if it can reclaim this level, it's going to move back towards the highs. So for Microsoft, either way, didn't really wasn't really looking at Microsoft to trade, right? This was your key level price right in the middle, kind of consolidated for the first 30 minutes and then shot up with the Qs and then kind of reclaim this key level, which is your 450, and then end up pushing back towards that all-time highs. So now, right, it kind of took out that key level, which is your all-time highs level. So for Microsoft now, the setup now is kind of it's going to be different from Microsoft since it already took out that all-time highs liquidity level. Now, if you're looking for more upside on Microsoft, you would kind of have to see it reclaim this level and then push back towards the upside. Me personally, yeah, you would have to honestly see this reclaim this 456 level for Microsoft if you want to trade it towards the upside. Other key levels I will have drawn out. if you were to draw out Microsoft, is really the area that it kind of broke out from, right? This key area. So if you do want to see more upside on Microsoft, I kind of expect it to potentially pop up and maybe drop. We'll see. This 445 is key, and then of course your 456. A lot of the higher time frames you will see, right? We don't really have any higher time frame patterns. This one's kind of just gravitating higher, but the only higher time frame pattern I did see yesterday was Tesla. So Tesla yesterday, I mentioned that this was one of my top watches coming into today, and we're still very much bullish on Tesla, right? I mentioned last week, right, that downtrend break, we had key levels above. Yesterday, I mentioned that I was holding up in the pre-market, so this was the only one that I was looking at coming into yesterday. Right, the pre-market, it was holding up as the Qs was really at low of day. You can see we end up shooting up towards the upside, and then we just drew out old highs and old lows, and then end up gravitating back towards the upside. So for Tesla today now, since we have that pullback, right, we're up, what are we up now? Essentially a couple days in a row, right? 4 days in a row, you can see now on Tesla, we're in the middle of the range. So in the middle of the range on Tesla, as you can see right here, right, when price has a pretty big range day, we open up inside the middle of the range. So if you draw out your fib from your low to your high, right, this is essentially perfectly the middle of the range. So you'll see right here, this is your high, this is your low, this is your middle of the range. Right, price is just in the middle of the range. So don't really expect too much to happen on Tesla today. It did have a pretty big range day yesterday, so you can look to scalp it. But higher time frame wise, right, any trades that you take on Tesla today are going to be purely scalps and just going to be based off of intraday price action, right? There's no higher time frame setups. It's most likely going to consolidate all day today and then eventually move. And then of course we have half day tomorrow, so I don't really expect too much to happen. And then Thursday we have a day off. So it's one of those names, right? Tesla, if you do trade it today, it's going to be purely scalps just because we have a big range day yesterday, right? Yesterday, the reason why you're able to hold it for a potential bigger push towards the upside was because we're above previous day highs and we had key external levels, right? That's why there was momentum, right? This is classic momentum, right? Where you can gravitate towards that next external highs, which are like right? We had that gap fill, which was 206, and then the next level towards the outside was like 212.71, right? This high back here. But now since we're in the middle of the range, right, we're most likely going to consolidate. So on Tesla today, the levels, if you were to look to trade it, you just kind of have these marked out. Let me go back here. Right, if you were to mark it, you could just mark out like this order block right here, and then you can mark out your gap. We're closed, right? So we're price closed. This is kind of the range that you're kind of dealing with on Tesla. So really not really too interested, right? I don't really like trading internal ranges unless it's a gap fill trade. So Tesla inside the range, kind of expected to just use these ranges as like support and resistance. Do you like Meta above 150.650? Yes. Meta, if you do want to trade Meta, yeah, you kind of want to see it reclaim this key level, which is your 505. So 505.53. Apple's deserves some attention, broke 215s after ranging for a while. Yeah, I'm going to take a look at Apple as well. Apple actually ended up, I was trying to break out yesterday. We'll keep an eye on Apple as well. Do you see Tesla dropping below Apple? Do you see Tesla dropping below 200 if the delivery numbers are low? Yeah, are the deliveries numbers coming out today or tomorrow? I'm not exactly sure when it's coming out, but for Tesla, the delivery numbers, right? We have earnings in 2 weeks. I don't really expect it to do too much. The delivery numbers should affect it just a little bit. But of course, yeah, the delivery numbers are important. We end up breaking out. So the key level really is, yeah, your 200, right? This is kind of the area that it broke out from. So it could still pull back to 200 and still be very much bullish back towards the upside. I personally would like to kind of see it hold this level. So price can kind of come back into your 203 and then still move back towards the upside. On Tesla, would it be good to mark out that 1 day order block? Yeah, you can mark out this daily order block as well. It's kind of the same thing, right? I marked out the high of it. So those are the levels you always want to have marked out. That's why it's like daily order block key levels, right? A previous day highs level, so 203. So 203, those are key levels. Tesla was insane yesterday. After Tesla yesterday, I decided to not use the Bollinger Bands anymore. It was above 3 sigma, but kept going up. This is why I could not get it. Yeah, the Bollinger, you just got to understand like trend and momentum. Like after a big day like this, right? Especially intraday, like Bollinger Bands are probably pretty good for on the higher time frames. I don't know about Bollinger Bands on the lower time frames, or any type of indicators on the lower time frames are very difficult to use. If you were to use indicators, you kind of want to use them on the higher time frames. Yeah, so this is kind of just gravitated at Apple. Do you typically avoid trading red news? It depends what red folder news, but yeah, if there's Jerome Powell speaking, CPI, PPI, like all those names, right? You're not going to be swinging into those names. FOMC, you're not going to be looking to trade the day on FOMC. On a day like this where Jerome Powell speaking, we're just going to be patient. If there's any setups, any higher time frame setups, we'll take them. Okay, Google. So Google. The next chart that I have, it's really back into this key level that I kind of just talked about, this 183. Now Google, it's kind of just consolidating. It's forming like this mini downtrend break as well. If you're looking at the daily chart on Google, right, we're still bullish on Google. You can see we're at all-time highs. If you look at the 1 hour time frame, this is what it looks like. We're at previous all-time highs level, which is your 183 level. Potentially, it could come back down towards your 182 level for Google. It really depends on what the market wants to do. But Google, what you kind of want to see, if you want to see price move back towards the upside, is first you want to see it hold this 183 level, which is very key. And then you kind of want to see it break this like downtrend that it has going on, reclaim your 184, and then a push back towards the upside on Google. Netflix, one of those names, ends up tapping back into our key area, right? It's kind of just ranging, right? Using these areas as like support and resistance, right? This is what we have, right? Very nice bounces from literally all these areas. So that's what's really been happening on Netflix. It's most likely just going to consolidate for a little bit. As you can see right here, very down close candles into key areas of support. I still very much expect it to gravitate towards that 700 in the near future on Netflix, but currently it's just ranging. Amazon. So Amazon is a ticker, right? All-time highs. This is like a ticker yesterday. It ends up holding this key area. So this was a key area coming into yesterday. If it didn't hold this key area, it was going to gravitate towards this level, which is your 189, the level that it broke up from. But you can see yesterday it ends up holding this area, and it's gravitating back towards the upside. You can see Amazon currently in the pre-market as well. You can see it's relatively strong compared to the Qs. So the areas that I will have marked out on Amazon, of course, it's going to be your previous day high. Right, previous day high. If you potentially want to see Amazon move towards your previous day high, you're also going to have marked out this key level as well, which is your 197. Potential trade opportunity on Amazon today is potentially like a break and retest off your previous day high towards all-time highs. This risk wouldn't be the greatest trade off of previous day high. There's still a little bit of room. But for Amazon, really, you see that relative strength in the pre-market. You kind of want to see it if you want to see more momentum, as I mentioned, right? A break and retest of potentially 198. If it does want to gravitate towards the upside, if you see this daily chart, right, we're still very much bullish and intact for a move towards the upside. Really, the only setup I kind of see coming to market open, like you potentially look for a pullback in towards your 197 for a move towards the upside, or you can look for that break and retest of previous day high for a move towards the upside. Either way, Amazon is a ticker that is very bullish on the higher time frames, very bullish as well. Whereas the Qs is pretty much consolidating the past little bit. Amazon has been very bullish. So for Apple, this is a ticker that I kind of talked about yesterday. I didn't really expect it to kind of gravitate higher. I thought it was going to really just consolidate for a little bit more. But you can see yesterday, this was our key level, which is our 210, right? Previous support turn into resistance, and you kind of want to see this level use as support, right? So kind of reclaim this level and then push back towards the upside. We also have this downtrend break that technically it broke yesterday as well. So for Apple, what you want to see, if you do want to see price push towards the upside, the key areas that you want to mark out are this high, basically back from last Thursday. So you can see it's basically this high that it has. This is also your down close candle as well. You can mark this out, go back onto the 1 hour time frame, and kind of just drag this out. So this is your key level that we have on Apple, right? Previous resistance right here, and then you kind of see it use as support. So coming to market open, you want to see price essentially base above this key area, which is your 215, and then like slowly gravitate back towards upside and potentially towards previous day high, and then potentially towards 220. So the levels I'll have marked out today on Apple will be that 217 area, and then essentially the area that it broke out from, which is this area right here, right? This is kind of the area that it that you want to see it hold, 215, and you want to see it gravitate back towards the upside. Apple most likely going to be my top watch coming into today. If it holds this level, we'll be looking for long positions, right? If it holds this area, we'll be looking for a move back towards the upside. If it breaks underneath, then there's going to be no trade on Apple. So really today, I'm not seeing too much. Jerome Powell speaking at 8:30. Right at market open. So really the only tickers I'm seeing today that have a decent higher time frame is Amazon and Apple. The rest of the tickers, Tesla, right, they're just kind of inside the middle of the range. A lot of these tickers, I don't expect too much to happen. NVDA is a potential trade opportunity as well. Even though it is in the middle of the range, it potentially can show some strength right off the gates. We'll be looking for this break of this trend line and a move towards the upside. So my top watches coming into today are Apple, Amazon, and NVIDIA. The rest of the tickers, most likely just going to be patient and wait for the first 30 minutes to play out. Let's see. Typical blah, blah, blah. What do you think about Palantir? I'll take a look at that in a second. More likes today at this point. Yes, keep up smashing that since you're here for Bro Jack. Appreciate that, man. Thoughts on Oxy? I'll check that out. Bro, you're low Jada, first timer here. How you doing, my man? I'm good. Thanks for asking. Top picks, opening range break today. Yeah, so the opening range break, it's like it's all dependent on what happens intraday wise, right? That's a ticker. The opening range break is like there's no bias, there's no higher time frame setup. It's just all dependent on what happens coming into market open, right? That's one of those strategies. You can use the opening range break with higher time frame thesis, and you can build a strategy around it. I personally, if I was to trade the opening range break, I just don't have a bias or a thesis. That's how you got to trade that. Apple is a beautiful scenario for the 84% rule. That is correct. Why is the 197 key level on Amazon? 197, this kind of just drew at the high, right? Really, the key levels are your all-time highs level, and the lower the range is 192. I kind of just marked out this level. This is just a key level that's kind of just been respecting and just bouncing off of a couple times. So this is why I have this level drawn out. It's just in the middle. That's why I have that. You can even draw out a key area. You can draw at this. You kind of draw at this key area, right? It's just been, price has been respecting and having multiple touches around this. What time is, 9:30. Jack Coin, please. Thanks in advance. Oxy has a setup. Meta, thoughts on Disney for the future downside. Okay. Can you seek device on Dell and SMCI? Yeah, I'll do that in a second. All right. So yeah, if you guys have any charts now, I'll take a look at them. I don't really see too many on the higher time frames, so I'll have to look at potentially other tickers for higher time frame setups. 84% rule. I personally do not have a video on it, but it essentially states that if you take the same setup twice, the first time it doesn't work out. If it's the exact same setup, the exact same conditions, then 84% of the time on the second setup, it will end up playing out. It's a little bit more, it's not, there's a lot more conditions that go in the criteria that goes into it, but yeah, it's the 84% rule. I think a lot of people have a couple videos on it. We talk about the 84% rule all the time. But yeah, once you're consistent with your strategy, how do you structure with the withdrawals? Do you do weekly or monthly? As I'm assuming there'll be drawdown months too. Yeah, a lot of times, some people do it. It depends on how you like to do it. Some people withdraw weekly. I usually withdraw monthly. Some people do it. Yeah, it depends how some people do it. Some people withdraw every single day potentially. I think 1 month is a good sweet spot. If you sometimes tend to overtrade, sometimes 1 week is very good. All right, what chart was I looking at? So Palantir. So Palantir, the levels I really had was this key area that I had right here, which was your 25.56 to your 25.35 on Palantir. Those are the levels I kind of had drawn out. I mentioned yesterday, I said there was a potential opening drive play on Palantir, right? Big push up, kind of consolidation, and you kind of want to see that leg back towards the upside. So you see Palantir yesterday, kind of just right off the gates, just gravitated higher, used this as a retest level, and then had a nice push right off the bat, and then kind of just pull back, right? This is really what it mainly offers. After that big push up, that's really that only trade that it offers is that open drive. You kind of see it just consolidated after. So for Palantir, I'm still very much bullish. Now it's above this high, so it's essentially using this as a retest. So as long as it uses and creates a higher low on Palantir, I'm very much bullish back towards the upside. So currently trying to use this 25.56. So I expect it to gravitate towards the upside if it holds this level for a move back towards previous day high, and then potentially that higher time frame level, which is 25.56. What's your next one? Oxy. So for Oxy, some of the tickers that you want to kind of look at. So for Oxy on this name, you kind of see big day last week, kind of just consolidated all week. Yes, essentially last week. So this looks like a very good higher time frame setup, right? Big push up. It's been consolidating all last week and this week as well. So what you kind of want to see, kind of draw this out. You can even draw this if you want as well. But Oxy, it looks like it's ready to break out. It's basing above your 62.95 level now as well, right? Kind of basing above this level, right? Clear room towards the upside, which you kind of want to see, right? Clear room being that 63.84, and then your 64.54. So for Oxy, right, clear targets towards the upside, and then you have clear risk as well, which is your 25.95 level. If you do want to see Oxy for a move towards the upside, what you want to see is this, right? First, you kind of want to see a breakout of previous day high. So there's potential two scenarios here, right? Your previous day high is a very key area, so you can mark out this key area as well. You kind of want to see price break above this level and then a push towards that all-time highs level. That's personally how I would like to trade it if I was to trade it, right? You can see there's multiple touches back here. You kind of want to see a break above, use this level of support for a continuation back towards the upside. Blah, blah, blah. What are some other tickers? Dell. So yeah, Dell, this is one of the names, right? Break and retest on the weekly time frame, came back into these down close candles, right? Had a nice move into this gap fill, very close to filling the gap, kind of pulled back towards the downside. Now you can see Dell end up pulling back with the market here, but really kind of based exactly where it broke out from. So this is the area that it broke out from on Dell. You can see this was that flip that we had, and now you can see we're just using this as support. Right, support back towards the downside, right? Mini downtrend break yesterday on Dell, and then we had that push back towards the upside. So if you want Dell more continuation, you want to use essentially this high, these highs back from over here. Right, I can remove these levels. So these are key levels. Oops. So these are the key levels they have, right? Previous resistance. Now you kind of want to use this active support. So for Dell, you want to see this level hold and a continuation back towards the top of your gap. That's what you want to see on Dell. Key level is going to be your 140.50 level, and of course your 141.50s. Next ticker, SMCI. So SMCI, bottom of your trend line. This is one of the tickers. If I go back onto the lower time frames here, this is one of those tickers, right? Big trend day towards the downside, right? Kind of consolidation. The levels I had marked out was your 840 level. I mentioned that if it breaks above this level, it's going to push back towards the upside. You can see end up using this as essentially a retest towards the downside. And now you can see it's at the bottom of your trend line as well. It's kind of similar to AMD, right? SMCI and AMD are the weakest semiconductors in the market. NVDA, all those other ones are strong, but SMCI and AMD are the weakest ones. And now you can see it's the bottom of the trend line. So bottom of the trend line, you kind of want to see this level hold for SMCI. If you were looking for a potential short position, you would kind of want to see this level hold, which is kind of currently doing, right? Not your previous day high, but your low from Friday, you kind of see it's using this as essentially a retest level. You kind of want to see it stay underneath this 815. So if it stays underneath this level, it's going to gravitate lower. If it gets back above, it's just kind of going to consolidate. So your key level that you're going to have marked out is your 215 level on SMCI. As I mentioned, I personally don't like, I don't really want to short any of these semiconductors. If you were to short it, yeah, the only ones you want to short are SMCI and AMD towards the downside. But it's going to be every single time you short it, it's a lot more difficult. And you see a lot of times, right, they'll just drop, like pretty big drop off market open, and then there's no balance. And then when it does balance, it kind of just consolidates. So unless you capture that opening pop where you can short it, a lot of the times it's very difficult to short these type of names. Snow. So yeah, Snow. I mentioned that this ticker for Snow, right, downtrend break, key levels as well, right? We have a push all the way back to potentially towards 144. So for Snow, right, key levels I had drawn out was your 138. I think I had 141, and then your 144 level on Snow. You can see very nice bounce off the lows, right? Downtrend break, very nice bounce. End up essentially every single day we've been using these old highs, right? Every single time price is in a clear uptrend, you can always mark out your previous day high. So in this case, you can mark out this level, you can mark out your previous day high here, right? So you can see, right, when price creates a previous day high, price gets above it, uses a retest towards upside, right? That's how you know price is bullish. When price gets above previous day high, uses a retest and continues towards the upside. That's when you know price is very bullish and has the most momentum. So coming into this day on Snow, you can see price yesterday came all the way back down to where previous day high, bounced straight back towards the upside, previous day high again, right? If price wants to move towards 144, needs to break above, retest, and continuation towards upside. I have no clue what this ticker is, but big drop from a couple weeks ago during earnings. It's really right back to where it kind of dropped. So this key level to mark out, you can kind of see it rejected on Friday, right at this key level, which is your 94 level. So for this ticker, if price wants to gravitate higher, it needs to break and retest above. If it wants to reject and go lower, it potentially could come back all the way down towards 191. But I kind of expect this ticker to break above 194 and potentially move towards upside. Okay, looking at Airbnb, close to gap on the daily time frame. So for Airbnb, yeah, these tickers, right, it's inside this gap fill. For Airbnb, these tickers, a lot harder to trade, not that much volume, but you can see it's inside the gap, right? Inside the gap, closed inside the gap, and now it's using this as a retest for the low of the gap. So this is how you trade these gap fills, right? You see resistance, right, gets above it. Now it's trying to use it as support, right? 450 level, right, used as support now. And now you want to see it gravitate back towards the upside. So for Airbnb, you kind of want to see this level hold, which is currently doing. Levels you want to have marked out is essentially your previous day high. So if you do want to see Airbnb gravitate back towards the upside, right, you kind of want to see this level use 151, push towards the upside, and then potentially gravitate towards really that whole gap fill on the daily time frame. Canva, not Canva. So this ticker, very nice higher time frame setup, right? Essentially a flat top break, right? Flat top break, very nice higher time frame setup forming. This ticker, what you really want to see is for the utmost potential move towards the upside, right? You have this key level as well, but you kind of want to see use this retest of this all-time highs level for a push towards upside. Other levels you can kind of have marked out is your this level right here, which is your previous resistance. Now you kind of want to use as support, right? You potentially can look at something like this for a push back towards the upside on Canva. But flat top break on the daily time frame, and it has a nice push towards the upside. Can you run through key levels on Amazon again? Apologies, right? Amazon, the key levels I have is right here. I guess that actually pushed higher in the pre-market, but the key level I did have was your 197 level. Now you can see it's above pre-market high. So now what I'd like to see for Amazon is break above previous day high, a base above this level, and then push towards that all-time highs level. That's what I'd like to see, is a really a move above your previous day high for a push towards the upside. Bitcoin related, Mara. So yeah, for Mara, this is a ticker, yeah, very related to Bitcoin. This is a key level that we have on Mara. You kind of see we did have this downtrend. Didn't really do too much after it broke. It kind of just based around this key level, which is your 18. Now you can see we're kind of just spooling back towards the upside towards this key level, which is your breakdown level, right? Previous resistance. Now you kind of want to see get above this level and then use it as support for a push towards the upside. So a very key level for Mara. If it can get above these key levels, I'd like to see it break and retest towards the upside. INTC. Did I talk about Intel already? So Intel, it has this gap, right? Intel's been a lot more weaker than any other semiconductors. This is one of those names for, yeah, it's just been absolutely doing nothing, right? Huge push down, just consolidation, right? No bounce whatsoever. It does have this gap fill, so that is a potential area where it could gravitate towards, but really no bounce on Intel. It's kind of forming this mini wedge pattern on the daily chart. A lot of consolidation. So either, right, it could push back into this gap or it could gravitate back towards the downside. So for Intel, yeah, you kind of just want to mark out your gap levels. It's really doing nothing on the higher time frame, so you don't really want to anticipate this. Yeah, just range, just wait until it breaks to either side, and then look for that wedge break to either side on Intel. So yeah, I marked out this name not too long ago, right? I wouldn't say for long term. I have no clue what's going to happen on the long term, right? Just based off chart wise, these tickers, you can see, right? Whenever you have penny stocks like this, it's all dependent on news, like fundamentals. Technicals matters a little bit. Technicals doesn't really matter. It has everything to really do with fundamentals. But you have this big gap, right? You can see we started rejecting very close to the top of the gap fill. So what I'd like to see, if you do want to see a pushback towards the upside, is a reclaim of this level, which it's currently doing. Right, it's reclaiming this key level. You kind of want to see it start basing above the bottom of the gap, and then you want to see it slowly gravitate back towards the upside, towards that top of the gap fill on a PLD. But yeah, long-term wise, like I have no clue what's going to happen. It's really dependent on what news wants to do, right? Technicals doesn't really play a big factor into, especially penny stocks, right? It has really nothing to do with it. What's your levels for SPY? So coming into today on really the ES and SPY, these are the key levels I have marked out, right? These are the key levels. It's the same levels we've had for the past 2 weeks. Nothing has changed on SPY and Qs, right? This is your level that we have. Previous resistance should now act as support, right? We'll see how this 1 hour candle closes, but really nothing has changed for the past 2 weeks on on ES and the NQ, right? NQ, key level is just 19903 level, right? 1 hour order block as well. If you hold this level, right, kind of expect it to just slow down, or you also have this like downtrend breakdown. So kind of expect it to kind of just slow down or consolidate above this level. If it breaks, have a strong break underneath, then we're going to gravitate towards the downside. Jada, what's your future products do you recommend building for Top Step accounts? No clue. I've never used Top Step before. I've used Apex way back in the day. But yeah, for Top Step, I'm really not the person to ask because I haven't used it before. Okay. So for Bitcoin, I'm bullish on Bitcoin, right? I'm still very much bullish. If you look at this monthly chart, we are kind of just slowing down at these highs. I'm still very much bullish. You can see these lower wicks, right? We're kind of just bouncing off this area, right? We did sweep this high, which is kind of taking a little bit longer. I thought Bitcoin and a lot of these tickers would end up gravitating towards the upside after it inverts this level. But the fact that it came all the way back down, I don't like it too much. But the level you kind of have drawn out, you can draw just this key area, right? Just this whole key area that we have. You can see this kind of just a low of the area. We're still holding it, right? Using this as support. For Bitcoin, if you want to see a push back towards the upside, you kind of want to see the weekly time frame. You want to see a push back towards the upside, right? You kind of want to see it inverse this level and then gravitate back towards the upside towards that all-time highs level. But for Bitcoin, right, still very much bullish, right? If you're looking at this time frame, right, Bitcoin, big push towards all-time highs. Now it's just consolidating. So after this consolidation, it's either going to have that next leg towards the upside. I kind of expect that next leg towards the upside, or we're going to potentially push all the way back down towards your 50,000. So really it's in key areas. I personally, I'm not in Bitcoin. I actually have a little bit of I have a little bit of Ethereum and a couple other things like Solana. But for Bitcoin wise, right, if it pushes up with the market and everything, then we should have a move back towards that all-time highs. But you kind of want to see this inverse on the weekly time frame. So that's going to be very key. If it rejects off this level, we're going to push lower. If it can inverse this level, we'll see a move back towards the upside. Okay. 850 now. BTC, blah, blah, blah. How about MU? So I'll go over one more ticker here, and then I'll go over what I'm seeing coming to market open, and then I'll call it a day here. So for MU, it's really very big push towards the upside. It's all the way back down towards the area that it kind of broke out from, which is your 130 level for MU. So what you kind of want to see on MU, right? Also, we did have earnings. So we ended up tapping the low of this earnings. We're kind of just slowly gravitating towards the downside, right? Ever since earnings, we're slowly gravitating towards the downside. Really for MU now, right? Your key levels are really all the way back at 135. So I personally, you can also have this level as well, and then this level. So currently, right, this is used as support. Right, it's trying to use this as a retest towards the downside, right? Also a downtrend break as well. So your first key level is really your 130, 150 level. That's your level. If you are somewhat bullish, you kind of want to see it push back towards the upside, but your key level is your 135. If price can get back above 135, it'll come fill its gap for earnings and kind of reverse back towards the upside. But this is your key level. If not, right, price is kind of just going to consolidate around these areas. But MU, right, these tickers now, right, after a break structure towards the downside, you don't really want to trade them. There's a lot better other tickers to trade after it kind of is breaking structure towards the downside on the daily time frame. Do you trade futures? Yeah, I trade SPY. I trade ES and NQ. I haven't traded them often or recently, but I do trade the futures contracts. Whenever I do trade SPY or Qs, I'll trade the futures contracts. So, yeah. So coming into this morning, I'll just quickly go over what I'm seeing coming to market open as well. So 9:30, Jerome Powell speaking, 10:30, Red Folder News. Today, right, as I mentioned, right, it's a lot of consolidation now, right? After this consolidation, especially trading the SPY and Qs, it's a lot more difficult, right? After it did not make a new high back here on the Qs, it did technically make a new high, but it never ended up closing above it. So after it ended up rejecting this double top, right, after it ended up rejecting this double top, that's when you know we're just coming back into consolidation, right? So the past now, it's mainly just going to consolidate. So with the SPY as well, right, after it didn't make a new high, right, price is now just going to be consolidating, right? Earlier, we're still in a trend, right? This was still a trend towards the upside. That's why we were bullish. But after this rejection of this all-time highs level, now this is a lot more chop, right? What we originally had, right, this push towards the upside, right, we're still very much in an uptrend. Right, we're retesting these lows, right? We're very much still bullish, but now since it rejected this high, now we're just in a consolidation period on the ES and the NQ. So this is not really something that you want to trade, right? This consolidation, especially on the SPY and Qs, and especially being this week as well. There's been a lot of higher time frame moves the past couple weeks, past month, right? Very nice setups towards the upside. Now it's the time to be patient, wait for other higher time frames to set up before you take anything. So for SPY and Qs, I'm not really seeing too much. It's just holding key areas. So yeah, SPY and ES and Q and QQQ, right? Just holding key areas. So you just want to be patient. There's nothing really going on. It's just consolidating. Higher time frames on the other tickers, right? Not really looking too much on Meta. Just kind of just 2 down days in a row. Obviously, I'm still bullish on Meta. You can see this is what the higher time frame looks like, right? Kind of this base, right? Big push up, this base. I eventually expect it to gravitate back towards 530. AMD, right? This wedge pattern, I don't really like it too much for a long or short position. It's kind of just consolidating underneath this key level. So for AMD, I'm just kind of going to be patient on this one. If it does want to move lower, it kind of has to reject this 150 level for a push down towards 153. It would have to show extreme relative weakness for me to be interested in a short position. But the main watches, as I talked about coming into today, are going to be NVDA, right? NVDA, we have this downtrend break on the higher time frames. We end up reclaiming this key level, which is your 122 level. So now, yeah, we're reclaiming this key level. If it can hold this level, I expect it to gravitate towards the upside, potentially towards previous day high, break the trend line as well for a move back towards the upside. That's the only thing I potentially could see, right? We have a lot of consolidation the past couple of days, right? This 1 hour downtrend break. So if price, right, big move, consolidation, right? If price doesn't want to break out, you kind of want to see it hold this 122 level, break this 1 hour downtrend, and then push back towards the upside. So NVDA is going to be one of my top watches. Microsoft, you kind of just want to be patient on this one. If it does want to push higher, it's going to hold this really this 454 level. Tesla. Tesla's the one I expected to kind of just be patient today, right? After a big push, kind of opening up inside the middle of the range, I expected to just use these levels as like support and resistance. So not really any higher time frame setups on Tesla. I expect it to consolidate today and then potentially set up either in the next coming days or next week as well. So Tesla, not really looking to trade Tesla today. It's just going to be purely scalps, right? There's no higher time frame moves. And the other tickers I have are Amazon and Apple. So Amazon, Apple, and NVIDIA are the top watches coming to today. Amazon, you can see it's kind of trying to break above your previous day high in the pre-market. So if you do want to see Amazon gravitate towards that all-time highs level, you want to see it break above all-time highs, use this as a retest, and then push towards that 200 level. And then for Apple, Apple is at a very key level. It's basically your Friday's high. So your Friday's high, you kind of want to use this level as support for a pushback towards your 217 and potentially those higher time frame levels and above on Apple. So that's really what I'm looking at today. Just Apple, Amazon, and NVIDIA. Besides that, I'm going to be patient, right? A lot of red folder news today. Most likely going to be patient. Jerome Powell speaking. They have 10:30, and then it's a short week tomorrow as well. Half day Wednesday, and of course, no trade on Thursday. So you want to be patient this week. Don't really put on size unless you see A+ setups, which I don't really see too many of. Most likely going to be patient and just be patient and wait for those high quality setups. So hope you guys did enjoy that. If you did, appreciate it if you guys drop me a like, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right. Take care, everyone.